Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Britsky. This is my Communications 110, speech number 5, Persuasive Action. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about voting and how I'm going to try to persuade you to take the action to get out and vote. I've had the great honor to stand at Arlington National Cemetery on several occasions and look out over the seemingly endless ocean of white grave markers. Soldiers who have died in various conflicts and those who've died after serving from the Civil War up until the present day conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. I've stood in silent reverence with World War II veterans, watching the solemn ceremony of the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown. Here, those who made the ultimate sacrifice are honored, and their identities are known but to God. In Luxembourg City, in Europe, I stood at the American National Cemetery and again saw that endless ocean of marble white grave markers, a testament to those who shed their blood on foreign shores, and even in death did not get to come home. They fought, as many have throughout our history, to preserve our rights and freedoms, and among these is the cherished right to vote. Throughout our history, this right has been threatened, however, always protected. So what's the problem? The problem is quite simple. People just don't turn out to vote. According to presidency.uscb, in an article titled Voter Turnout in Presidential Elections from 1828 to 2012, voter turnout for presidential elections for our highest executive office is only around 60%. That's unacceptable. If we were grading that, that's a D, almost an F. Another root cause of the problem, and this may take on a little bit of my own spin, but we'll address this word a little later, is just plain apathy. Negativity is contagious. People think my vote doesn't matter, I don't want to vote, politicians are crooked, and this contagious attitude bleeds over to others who in turn also don't vote. How can you complain if you're not exercising your duty as a citizen to vote and to have that voice in government? If you think your vote doesn't count, look back to the controversial 2000 presidential election. George Bush narrowly won that election by winning the state of Florida. What if 10 or 15 or 20 or a million more voters had turned out? The outcome very well could have been different. How many people sat back later and said, I wish I would have voted. I wish I would have made a difference. One vote, in fact, does count. Think about local elections. I once read that as few as 15% of people turned out, where I lived in Wisconsin, for a referendum election. That election contained a very critical piece of legislation locally that had a huge impact on raising property taxes. So at the end of the year, you get your tax bill and you say, wow, I don't even remember this. But you didn't even vote for it. You had no voice in whether it passed or not, yet your taxes went up. According to an article I read in a website called Zen College Life entitled The 7 Reasons Most Americans Don't Vote, and what I want to do is take a little deeper look at the cause. Why are people not voting in greater detail as we move from the problem to the cause? Number one, they think their vote don't count. As we've already talked about, every vote does count. Number two, they're simply too busy. Voting doesn't take a long time. Lines are not long. And if you can wait in line for a carnival ride, how can you not wait in line to vote? Some other reasons: registration requirements, again, apathy, long lines, don't like the candidates. Well, guess what? You may not like either one of them, but why not have a say and vote for the lesser of two evils? And finally, and maybe this one is justifiable, can't get to the polls. But there are ways you can find ways to get to the polls if you can contact a local agency that will provide a ride. So really, none of these reasons are solid, especially apathy. Another thing I want to take on my take, and I've thought about this for years, probably from the earliest time a candidate announces their election, and for president, and the field of candidates is large, we become bombarded with polls every day. Polls. It's throughout the race. It may develop an attitude that, hey, my candidate's already losing. They don't have a chance. Look what happened last year. The polls had Donald Trump behind all the way, and he won the presidency in the end. What about polls on election night? You live in Hawaii or on the West Coast, and you think, well, the election's moving across the United States from East Coast to West Coast. The votes are coming in. The state results are coming in. My candidate lost. It's 6 o'clock. I'm going home for dinner. I don't have time to stop at the polls again, or stop to vote, because the polls already show my guy's losing. Another big cause that I feel can be the negative perception of the Electoral College. Now, people say, well, my vote doesn't count because the popular vote in the nation as a whole doesn't count. But the popular vote counts in each state. Except for Maine and Nebraska, a presidential candidate must win that state and be in a winner-take-all situation. They get all the electoral votes in that state determined by the number of representatives in Congress. 2 senators and the number of House of Representatives, those in the House of Representatives based on population. In Nebraska and Maine, electoral votes can be split. But again, think about the terms of, I live here in Texas, my candidate is going to get those electoral votes in Texas if they win the popular vote in Texas. The intent of our founding fathers, according to an article in National Archives and Records Administration entitled, "What is the Electoral College?" is very simple. It was established by the founding fathers to reach a compromise between election of the president by a vote in Congress and a popular vote by the citizens. Now, there have been 5 instances where, yes, somebody has won a nationwide popular vote and not won the presidency. 2 in the 21st century, 2000, President George W. Bush, and 2016, when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. But again, electoral votes, 270 is the magic number, and they are won by winning the popular election in each respective state, based on the number of U.S. representatives and senators. What I want you to do, act now. Get your friends to act now. Get your family members to act now. Recognize the fact that your vote counts, and it is your civic duty to exercise that cherished right. You can also volunteer to be an election worker. Help get others to the polls. And finally, if you're not registered, go through the simple process of getting registered. According to an article in Pew Charitable Trust written by Samuel Corn, in 2014, 21.4% of eligible citizens were not registered to vote. You can even register online. I did when I lived in North Carolina back in 2004. So to kind of wrap it up, we talk about negativity in the news reports. Politicians are bad, bipartisan lockups in Congress, legislation can't get through. We talk about taxes, foreign affairs, the deficit. But as citizens, again, 40% of people are not exercising the right to vote, and that's just in presidential elections. What about midterms? It could even be worse. We need to vote at federal, state, and local level and stop taking the easy way out and simply criticizing. I want to take you back for just a moment to that cemetery. Honor the memories of those who served, those who shed their blood on foreign shores and died and may not even have had the chance to come back to this country and ever cast a single vote. So vote. It is your duty as an American citizen. Thank you. Have a great day.